Hello everyone, Max here with Fiction Rant to bring you another episode of Future Tech That Actually Sucks, where I look at technology from the near or far future and give a few reasons why implementing such a technology would actually be a terrible idea. Also, I have a Ko-fi account for anyone who wants to support the channel, and you'll find the link in the description. For this episode, I'll be talking about any and all cybernetic or smart body modifications. This includes cyberpunk-esque Chrome, which involves replacing whole limbs, organs, whatever, with cybernetic replacements, tattooed on devices, and all that kind of stuff. Quick disclaimer, do not get me wrong, I am all for making prosthetics more sophisticated, and there's absolutely a bright future ahead for making amputees new limbs and returning senses and other functionality to people who've been injured or whatever. We've had some amazing advances in those areas lately, and I am all for seeing that just keep going and going and going. We can return sight to the blind potentially. We've been doing that for years, but it's getting better and better. We're putting chips in people's brains to allow them to interact with computers despite that they are quadriplegic. It's fantastic. None of that is what I'm talking about, though. I'm talking about more elective applications of such integrated technology. Let's start by looking at the cyberpunk style upgrades. You want some Kiroshi optics? All right, just sit right here and I'm going to tear your eye out of your skull and replace it. How about some nice mantis blades or gorilla arms? Now just sit tight while I cut both your arms off and throw them in the bin. Yeah, don't worry, I'm sure that the Ripper Doc is super sanitary and there's no way there's going to be any negative side effects from this, not even phantom limb syndrome. Also, you're now vulnerable to software exploits and hacks that can range from being somewhat inconvenient, losing control of your limbs, to electrocuting you to death. Even if all the kinks could get ironed out and the implants of this kind could be perfected, they still wouldn't have a viable future for one simple reason. People are kind of attached to their body parts. Literally. The way to make anything cheap enough for the common man so that you can see a ton of it around is through scale. You make a bazillion of something and supply and demand. Your supply is very high. Even if you have a high demand, things will still be cheap. And since the market for augments that require dismemberment would be niche at best, the prices would be and stay sky high. Also say hi to wife and baby in the background if you can hear them. I'm not going to shut them up. They're having a good time. There's also the matter of application. Something like mantis blades would be particularly hard to sell because the use cases are just killing people. Nothing else. They're way too unwieldy for even something like a butcher shop or whatever. All they're really good for is going stabby stabby, and you can do the exact same thing, probably more effectively, with a sword. Again, prosthetics for people who have lost limbs are a different matter. I've never even heard of somebody saying that we shouldn't develop better prosthetics. The one criticism I've ever heard is regarding leg prosthetics, which can be designed to outperform natural legs in running, because you can basically stick big ol' springs on the ends of people's legs, which is kind of a fairness argument at that point, and that's perfectly legitimate to have that argument. But I think that that's a testament more to how good the prosthetics are getting, and in terms of fairness, just make a different category. That's the way to fix it. Have, the standard Olympic category be people who have legs made of meat, just like doping and all that kind of stuff. You don't have the people who are roided up compete with everybody who's not. The replacement eyeball thing, I don't think will ever catch on, unless it's to, restore sight to the blind or whatever. But that kind of already exists. It's pretty awkward so far, but it's getting better. What would be much easier and much more attractive to adopt would be smart glasses and contact lenses. Granted, Google already attempted Google Glass, and it crashed and burned pretty quickly despite being pretty neat overall, but you had to wear these goofy-looking glasses, and the benefit they give you just wasn't good enough to overcome the I look really dumb factor. Smart contact lenses, on the other hand, would be a way easier sell, even if they don't provide the level of features that smart glasses would. Even if they just connected to your phone and gave you a small heads-up display with, things like a clock, a compass, all that kind of stuff. That would be fantastic. And they'd be relatively inconspicuous and easy to customize for cosmetics. We already have plenty of people going around with colored contact lenses, so digital ones don't seem like that much of a stretch to me, especially if we can get the prices down. All right, moving on. The other tech I want to talk about that will never catch on in a big way is smart tattoos. Don't get me wrong, there will absolutely be some people who want to do this, but there's also people who tattoo their entire face, so there's definitely different strokes for different folks. That doesn't mean that everyone's going to want to do it. Again, economy of scale. Potential for smart tattoos is pretty obvious. You can have a smartphone tattooed onto your forearm or whatever. Neat, right? No need to carry around some bulky device anymore. Except that as people are learning more and more, being tethered to your phone 24/7 is kinda awful a lot of the time. Just imagine having a phone that you cannot put down, combined with a job that has little respect for things like, working hours or vacation time. Your boss can always get a hold of you. What about something like you're having a romantic evening with your significant other while friggin' Candy Crush and X and Facebook are all making your arm tingle repeatedly with notifications and you can't get rid of it? Then there's the more practical side of things. What if the new model comes out and it has, double the memory and a better camera and all that kind of stuff? What are you going to do? Go to the tattoo parlor, get the old one removed, including having the hardware portion carved out of you, and then replacing all of that with the latest and greatest version? I mean, software updates are all fine and good and simple, but hardware is hardware. And when you need to update it, you've got to physically remove the old and install the new, which in this case means surgery. That's kind of a big deal. People tend to be kind of surgery averse as a rule, unless they need it. Then, of course, there's the security side of things. Talk about lack of privacy. Smart tattoos would undoubtedly have similar features to a smartphone, but with the added benefit of biometric data. And you'd better believe that the terms of service would include things like constant, supposedly anonymous location tracking and various bits of biometric data being the property of the service provider to do with whatever they please. If they caught on enough, I bet even health insurance providers would get in on the action and give you a rate discount if you provide them with your biometric data so they can, deny you coverage later because they've been tracking your habits and you're just not all that healthy, so you're a bad investment. I mean, we're not just talking about heart rate and all that kind of stuff. We're talking about heart rate, body temperature, blood sugar levels, blood alcohol levels, all that kind of stuff being tracked in real time, not to mention any kind of drug use, anything that circulates through your blood, they can check for it in real time. So just imagine, you had some health thing come up. But you have, a beer a night or whatever. We're going to deny you coverage because clearly you have bad habits. Just imagine the amount of stuff that would go on with health insurance companies exploiting whatever your habits happen to be to deny you coverage. All right, I could go on and on about the potential downsides of smart tattoos, but I'll move on to a better alternative. Well, that's simple. Smartphones, we already have them. Sure, most people keep them with them day and night while oversharing online, but everybody has the option of turning them off, leaving them in another room, whatever. And when yours breaks or the latest, greatest one comes out, you're not physically attached to the thing, so the replacement hurts your bank account, not your limbs. Sure, they're bulky and all that, but they're only as bulky as they need to be, and these days people like having a big screen anyway. But what do you all think? Are you one of the people who would definitely get an elective surgery to replace your arms with mantis blades? Do you think that a smart tattoo would be a smart investment? Are there any other future technologies that seem like great ideas but are actually awful? Let me know in the comments below. Again, I have a coffee link in the description if you want to support the channel. And until next time, live long and prosper, and may the force be with you.